stylish. You're going to look stylish. And hopefully our players will look stylish in-game. We've got MegaMania ever dutiful with the notepad. MegaMania, I know, comes to Shockwave, I think, literally every week. I think I've seen him here every week since we came back from quarantine, and I think even a little bit before then. And then on the other side, Ikazuchi, one of the few people who, even pre-MK Leo, don't be fooled by him using the same color, has played Marth for quite some time.
A cultured individual. Marth is maybe not a good character, but they are a very cool character.
There are very few characters in this game whom I would consider just directly bad. I think that Marth is fine.
I was going to say, I wouldn't call Marth bad by any means.
He is a serviceable character whom you can play.
Ooh, that was cool.
Ooh,
that was
extremely
nice. Cool.
Double tipper on the up air. And you saw, I mean, after the first one, it just felt like it was setting up for the second one, too.
That is some of the merit of Marth, because a lot of people would be like, just play Lucina.
You're throwing if you don't play Lucina, guys. Come on.
But genuinely, Lucina doesn't have that.
The more that you can get that spacing down with these moves and you figure out kind of the unique combo routes that Marth has, the more you can do crazy stuff like that. Good spacing by MegaMania, you know, saving a potentially terrible situation right there going off stage with Sora. But that is a cushion that you get with this character. If you do happen to find yourself flying off stage, you can probably make it back. And with a big read like that, he can hit hard too.
Yeah, don't even need the sweet spot. Just the hilt of the blade is going to be enough to get it done. Big forward smash this time, not going to find its mark. And that's going to be Ikazuchi setting up off stage. But of course, it's Sora. You don't get much for setting him up off stage, which is one of the downfalls, typically, of Marth if you can't find your KOs on stage, much like Ikazuchi has. One off of a tech scenario on the platform, and then this follow-up off the setup of the Dancing Blade.
Yeah, and again, exploring those combo routes and, you know, finding their existence with Marth, right? I mean, it's something that Marth took a while to develop in Smash 4, and, you know, again, I always like to hold on to hope that maybe he will develop in this game as well. Ikazuchi showing some of that, but only barely hanging on by a thread. Now at 137%, MegaMania trying to find the stock at the ledge, but a big commitment to these spells. Not going to find anything, but both of these players having a tough time finding a definitive hit.
It's a little bit of a swing fest over here. Finally finding center stage. Ikazuchi trying to hold it, but that is 1, 2, 3. MegaMania taking it back. Oh, not quite positioned properly for the tipper, but this one does come through with the back air. A big sweep. I would be remiss with our time in between games here to not mention in Smash 4 it did take a little while for Marth to find his footing, but a lot of that footing was found with significant buffs to the character.
That is true.
And
that is true.
My lord, they sure gutted a lot of the things that were cool about him. Anybody miss jabs from Smash 4? That is one of the things that I've gone back and played Smash 4 as one of the people who initially was like, I miss the movement. No, you don't. I don't. You don't.
I kind of do.
It's not.
I went back and played it, and I thought it was all right.
I don't think it's what I thought it was.
Sure. That's fair and understandable. Now,
but the jabs is one thing I will never not miss.
No, the jabs were definitely big. I mean, I like things that, in fact, the changes to the jabs were one of the first things that I remember seeing about this game that somebody pointed out was that, hey, and they demonstrated it with Marth. They were like, hey, if you jab somebody, like jab one, your opponent kind of gets like stuck to the ground so that you can connect the rest of them, but there aren't as many mix-ups, and that's, you know, something that was a big change. And speaking of big changes, MegaMania has changed up to what you would expect a player of his tag to be playing, and that is the Mega Man.
Mega Man, definitely a character who can play kind of outside Marth ranges pretty well, but if you're not careful, the pellets being somewhat inconsequential in their stun can definitely lead to Ikazuchi being able to carefully place those tippers.
It's interesting to see kind of a dichotomy, especially when you kind of go to a local like round 1, round 2 kind of level of play, that you see that Ikazuchi kind of has an idea of like what good movement looks like, right? But commits to very committal movement quite a bit, right? Like you see lots of floaty jumps to try to bait something out from the opponent or to make up space, and you see right there, right, the aerial drift is pretty good, trying to wait for something, but it is a bit committal. And MegaMania, on the other hand, doesn't want to commit to anything too deeply. The movement doesn't really get him into trouble, but he's also not moving very quickly. So it's an interesting dichotomy to see between these two players, the differences between, you know, kind of how those two playstyles interact with each other.
Ikazuchi has found a lot of success with those, like you mentioned, those empty jumps. Sometimes finding landing aerials very late into the jump, and sometimes double jumping outright to escape those kind of scenarios, right? And then resetting up that same mix. But it should be very reactable, like you were saying, with how floaty and slow that jump is. I would love to see maybe like a metal blade up angled, or just a backing up and repositioning yourself in order to kind of counter that.
MegaMania going to need to dig deep here to bring this one back, because it looks like it's all Ikazuchi's game. Forward air does get that first stock, and that's one of those moves that I was thinking with that kind of, you know, floaty movement of Marth, where you can kind of react to where he's going to go. Forward air very quick, pretty strong, and it can set up for some combos. I love going high, actually, and pulling out the lead plates, too, because even against a you know, big disjoint like Marth's sword, you can still make up a lot of space with that leaf shield.
Yeah, and even the back air. You know, it doesn't matter what direction you're facing with Mega Man. If you do need to back up or move forward to try to set up that position, both of them are great here for anti-airs, but when you're getting anti-aired, that up tilt
Yo!
on the way back down.
MegaMania pulled back from the fist bump. He said, nah.
He said, wait a minute.
He said, nah, this is best of 5.
This is best of 5.
What are you talking about?
He said, actually, BG's. Actually not GG's, BG's.
I also forgot it was best of 5. I thought that he just sauced Ikazuchi, dude. I thought that he was just like, no,
absolutely
I don't think so.
MegaMania once again going for the character swap. This time pulling out the other fire emblem of the duo here.
From the ones that were present in Melee.
Yeah, it's not really a duo anymore. It was a duo of Marth and Roy.
But
now the duo's like Marth and Lucina, and then
Roy and
Roy's
Crom.
also there, and then Crom's there. It's like a quartet.
A quartet,
quartet.
even, yes.
Is a quartet gendered?
Nope.
Okay, it's a quartet.
Yeah, no, it's just a 4.
I just think about
trio,
like a barbershop quartet,
yeah.
and in my head, that's just like 4 mustached men.
Roy, Marth, Crom, Lucina.
Yeah, exactly.
As I say that, 0 to death for Ikazuchi, though.
Absolutely saucing. Oh, I love that. Honestly, the follow-up up tilt.
Yeah.
Just the back hit. Get you whatever you want.
It's one of those moments where you're like, you know what? I intended that back air to hit. I'm glad I'm bad.
Yeah.
I'm glad that in that moment, I was bad.
I was not quite enough of a pop-up to get the tipper on that forward smash. That is.
Yuck! Yuck!
That is not supposed to happen.
This has never happened before.
I do know you can 2-frame with Marth forward smash.
But it's still a fat yuck.
It's not pleasant for me. As a Marth enjoyer, that's kind of gross.
That's pretty big. I will also notice that, and again, kind of going back to what I was talking about in Game 2, MegaMania is just not pleased to be playing near Ikazuchi at any moment. Even when Ikazuchi's like pretty far away from grabbing the ledge, you see MegaMania backing up to like center stage almost, and not even going for the ledge trap, just kind of waiting to fight on stage. And that's a shame, because that's something that Roy does really well. But man, again, there's those double jumps, right? Or just the jumps to try to bait out something from Ikazuchi. Gets called out by MegaMania with the anti-air up smash.
We have seen MegaMania start to go for these like forward airs, rising fairs, just to call out movement. But I feel like you can react to that instead of calling it out, because we've also seen a couple of whiffs and situations there where whiffing